When I decided to quit WikiLeaks in 2010, I felt like it's a bit my obligation as a former spokesperson to tell people that I have some concerns about what's happening in the project. So I did an interview and I expressed some of my concerns. And in the weeks after I quit, Julian told all sorts of lies about how I quit and why I quit, and also about the others that have quit. And at some point in time, this whole story became so distorted that I thought it might be time to write down what actually had happened and how it happened, and at least to contribute my part, my story to the historic record. Well, Julian is a man of extremes, you know. He's a really brilliant thinker, he's very intelligent, and he can be a very charming person. But on the other hand, he can really be a very inconvenient person that you don't want to be involved with at all. And in some way it has developed over the 3 years from someone that I really liked a lot, with someone that I had a very close friendship with, to someone that today I wouldn't be involved with at all. I don't know. If I had known what he's like at the moment, maybe we would have put more effort into structuring the project so that he cannot do as much damage. The problem is not his personality in the first place. The problem is that he is the one that is ruling this project and that there is no one that he has to answer to. There's no accountability and no transparency in what he's doing. And this is just a lack of structure. That's true. It became really strange. It felt a bit like I'm involved in some kind of a weird personality cult with an abusive leader that is threatening me whenever I'm trying to ask him a question. So yeah, at some point in time it felt really weird because I thought maybe it's dangerous for me to be involved with that website, not because of what we are publishing, but actually because I'm involved with a person that has gone a bit crazy. Well, the best of WikiLeaks is that it has created this debate about secrecy and about transparency, and that it has brought the word whistleblower into countries that have never had the concept before. So this is the big achievement, that we are now talking about this topic and that we have realized how much potential there is for positive change in society if we have more transparency. And I think the negative side is that it never managed to establish this as an organization. So WikiLeaks seems to be doomed to remain in the underground. And I think this is the wrong approach. What we need is this transparency to become part of the heart of society. So it cannot act out of an underground, out of something that is semi-illegal, or I don't know. It should be something that is part of the establishment, that is part of what we all accept as general rules of society. I think it is. And this is partly a problem with the strategy, how these cables are being distributed. They are only available to a very small amount of media. Then there's a small gray market with a couple of more media that have access to them if they go to Norway, but you have to go to Norway in order to have a look at them. And then there's a black market where they are being sold to media, to governments, to maybe secret services, whatever. So, and this doesn't help anybody. You know, this is only creating a lot of confusion. Suddenly you see fake cables and no one really knows if these are the real ones or not. And it's also not helping the people that want to understand what has gone on. So I think a much better approach would have been to make sure that they are available to everybody on equal terms. And this is what essentially WikiLeaks was about in the beginning. It was about giving information to the public and not about creating some exclusive party where only a few select people are invited to. I don't know. I really hope, because this project has such a good history and it is the first one that was there. I really hope that they manage to survive and that they get back on their feet again somehow. But for that, I think Julian would have to change the structure of the project, and he would actually have to admit that some mistakes were made. And he's not very good with admitting any kind of mistake. So I don't know realistically what's going to happen. You know, maybe the idea was so good that it couldn't have gone right in the first place. And well, there was someone from a Swiss newspaper who once wrote, and I think this is very wise, that for whatever happens in society, you need one visionary that goes onto the new territory. And after that, you have to have engineers that build efficient solutions for that territory. And I think this is a bit what happened. You had to have this visionary of Julian Assange, who had done something that no one had done before in this way. And now we have to embrace that, and we have to create solutions that are actually functional. That's what, well, he has some kind of an entourage of people that are around him. But the feedback, at least that I'm getting from people close to him, is that these people all seem to be very new to the project, and they all seem to be not very critical people. And I think actually if you do something like this, you have to have a lot of critical minds on board. People that are constantly questioning if what you are doing is the right thing. And not people that like to say yes because it's the most easy thing to do. Yes, well, that Julian has a tendency for that, certainly. And that's part of why I left. It felt like I'm involved with some kind of abusive cult leader. Well, we are trying to be much less than WikiLeaks. We are trying to focus on the most important part, and this is the protection of a source. So we are creating a project that will provide technology, let's say a mailbox, where sources can put a document into and remain anonymous and protected. And we are providing these mailboxes to existing entities, publishing entities, media organizations, NGOs. So all sorts of organizations that have for a long time been working in the interest of the public, and that want this information because they want to write about it and they want to put it into context and they want to inform the public. So we are basically just focusing on what has been new in WikiLeaks, and this is the whole source protection part. Well, that's a good question. So we have a couple of different approaches there. First of all, we will be accepting donations from individuals. Second, we want to, as we are working with partners, we want to stimulate these partners to support us, not with money, but with infrastructure. And if every partner gives us some resources in forms of server capacity and infrastructure, then the operational cost we have will go much lower, and then we don't need as much money. And we are very conservative in how we are approaching this whole topic, because we have learned that we were poor in WikiLeaks, and we thought this was the problem. Then we got rich and a lot of people donated, and it didn't solve any problems, but it actually created a lot more. And in that respect, we are very conservative, and we are just trying to get what we need, and then we take the next step, and then we see if we need any more. But and Iceland is on a really good way. So it will take time, because it is a political process, and it is involving a lot of different ministries and different political parties and all of that, so it takes time, but it will succeed. And it is very important because it will be similar to WikiLeaks, that has made one example to society to show that if you have more transparency, something can change. And that's, in that same sense, the IMI will be one example that will show society that you don't have to restrict the internet, you don't have to restrict information, but you can actually open it up, and it will be good for society and it will not harm it. Well, first of all, I think I have a different personality, and this is a difference. Then second, I have been experiencing what happens if you get too famous and how much that can grow over your head. So whenever that happens, I'm really afraid of this. And thirdly, I've talked to that exact problem to the Spielberg and the DreamWorks folks for a very long time, and I've told them that this is something I would never want. And actually, I think their story will not be based so much on me, but they've also acquired the rights to the Guardian book, because I've recommended to them that they should try as much as possible to get the full picture. And the full picture is much more than just me. There are many more people involved, and many more people that have experienced different things. And I hope that they will try to get the picture as accurate as possible, and not trying to build up some kind of new hero or anything. If that happens, I'll be out of OpenLeaks and whatever, and I'll just be focusing on my kid again and be happy myself.